in the golden age of cinema, the Western genre was as big, if not bigger, than the superhero genre of today. Adventures of heroes and villains in the Wild West have been a staple of cinema for decades, sometimes falling out of favour, but then to crash back with a classic. So yeehaw, partners, let's mosey on down with a top 10 Western countdown. But first, here's 10 Western movie facts. Number 1. The term Western films, used to describe a narrative film genre, appears to have originated with a July 1912 article in the Motion Picture World magazine. Yeah! In Tombstone, star Kurt Russell ghost-directed the movie after the original director was fired. He didn't want to use his own name, so got the name of director George Cosmatos from friend Sly Stallone, who had worked with him in a similar arrangement for First Blood Part 2.
Hell's coming with me!
In Blazing Saddles, supposedly this film marks the first time the sound of farting had ever been used in a film, at least according to the filmmakers in the DVD commentary and documentary. According to Mel Brooks, they came up with the idea after watching numerous old westerns where cowboys only consumed black coffee and plates of beans, concluding that such a food combination would inevitably lead to farting. The Unforgiven script floated around Hollywood for almost 20 years. Gene Hackman read and rejected it, only to be later convinced by Clint Eastwood, who had owned the rights for some time, to play a role.
You just shot an unarmed man.
Well, he should have harmed himself.
In Dances with Wolves, to prevent any possible animal cruelty, Kevin Costner's TIG Productions spent $250,000 on animatronic buffalo to be used in the climactic buffalo hunt.
Buffalo, Tatanka.
In The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, because writer and director Sergio Leone spoke barely any English and Eli Wallach, who played Tuco, spoke barely any Italian, the two communicated in French. In Once Upon a Time in the West, Claudia Cardinale's first day of filming was her nude love scene with Henry Fonda. This also marked the first time Fonda had done such a scene. His wife insisted on being on set during the filming of it. The name The Wild Bunch was first applied to by the press to a gang of outlaws active in Oklahoma and Indian territories, headed by Bill Doolin. Every member of that gang eventually died violently. Later, the name The Wild Bunch was applied by the press to the Hole in the Wall gang of Butch Cassidy.
Let's go.
Stunt double Jim Burke performed the entire scene where Rooster Cogburn charged Ned Pepper's gang on horseback in True Grit. John Wayne was only seen briefly in close-up, and he was riding on a trailer, not a horse. Ooh, need to move. Oh, God, I'm doing so well.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
And finally, according to Tom Hardy, Leonardo DiCaprio bet that Hardy would get an Oscar nomination for his role in The Revenant, whereas Hardy thought otherwise. The wager was that the loser would be forced to get a tattoo of the winner's choice. It turned out that DiCaprio was right, and the choice of tattoo was a hand-scribed Leo Knows All by DiCaprio.
God? He's a squirrel.
Well, there you go. That's some wonderful, fascinating facts about the Western genre. I am here, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time, we have a debutante. Is that right?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah,
that sounds good. Sounds good. Our very good friend, a Patreon top head. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Matt to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you all.
The crowd go wild. I should genuinely put the clapping sound. I don't know why I just do that.
I like it though. It's very personal. Yeah, it's lovely.
Because I can do this. I mean, that sounds much better, doesn't it?
This is what I get every time I leave my house. It's
bet it is.
Crowds of people.
It just is. I know it is. I know. I'd love to live your life, Matt. I really.
I know, mate. I know.
Thanks for having me, buddy. How are you doing? You good?
Yeah, not bad, man. Not bad. Flat out, but good.
Good. Yeah, we were talking before we. I'm assuming it's not a top secret job that you do, but
no.
you're a. Well, tell everybody what you do. I said that you're basically a rocket scientist, but you're not quite that.
No, I'm a mechanical design engineer. Currently working in aerospace, but like you say, I've worked on rocket engines, Formula One, motorsport. a linear accelerator in Oxford, which was fun. So yeah, loads of things like that.
So, see, whenever I watch any kind of space movie and you see things like a screw or a nut, you think there's somebody somewhere that has designed that screw or that nut to be
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah,
You're that guy, aren't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like the thing with Boeing recently when their door fell off. Being in that industry and seeing that, it's
Did you
yeah,
shit
it's
yourself?
yeah, it's terrifying. I don't like flying because I know, there's people, not saying people like me, but I know what can go wrong.
You
Just
know
like,
how the
oh,
sausage is made,
yeah,
basically.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, it's yeah, but yeah, I enjoy it. I love it. It's good stuff. Very, very good.
Good. Now we very luckily back in November, as we're recording this, we met for the first time, didn't we?
We did, mate. Yes.
And we happened to meet where I live in the pub with the lowest walls in the world,
Oh yeah, it was
and
ridiculous.
low, low for normal size people. But you, Matt, how tall are you?
I'm 6'8".
6'8", and I
Yeah.
felt so sorry for you because you were trying to dance to the music and
Yeah.
stuff, but
Yeah.
there was no way.
It's very kind of like just yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. Especially like where I live in Dorset, all the pubs are, like old
Of
converted
course, yeah,
cottages, so you just find yourself in between two rafters like
yeah.
that.
Oh my
I mean,
God,
it keeps you upright, but yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's not easy.
It must be just a common thing to have to deal with. I mean,
Mm.
I don't have the same problem, but I'm like 5'6", so I'm quite short. So I never have that worry. I mean, again, going on planes and going
Yeah,
on trains and that, the leg room must be a nightmare.
it's not fun. Must admit, long haul flights are not fun. Sat there, you don't get the leg room. Even going, used to be going to the cinema and stuff like that. All the chairs and everything would be just totally packed in. But yeah, you get used to it. You just smack your head every day. You just get used to it.
Do you? I mean, but what? I mean, do you sometimes look and think this is great being this tall? There must be
Oh
like
yeah,
advantages to it,
going to gigs is amazing.
right?
I could be anywhere in a gig or a festival and see, the people behind me are screwed, but
I was just about
everything
to
else,
say, I'd be the guy that's behind you
yeah.
going, I don't fucking believe
I,
this.
I always do it. Like you should see the shame in my face when I go to a gig and I look behind me and there's somebody just, oh fuck, it's this lanky bastard's turned up. And with my long hair like that, just like
Exactly. You can imagine that someone who's camped out for like 5 hours and they think, I
yeah.
have got the perfect
Oh,
spot.
look at
Then you
this.
walk
Yeah.
along and you think, ah,
With a
shit.
cowboy hat on.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wide lapels as well. So
Yeah.
these massive, oh, that is
Yeah.
fantastic.
No, it is good, minus, like, hitting your head and buying clothes and fitting into things. Other than that, it's great. So
Yeah. Great. Well, we're here to try and work out what our top 10 Westerns are.
yep.
Now, how hard, we were talking again just before we pressed record, the fact that I changed my top 10 literally about 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
How hard has it been for you to put your top 10 together?
It's very difficult. I've changed my top 10 whilst we've been talking.
Really?
it's this is hot off the press, as hot as it can be. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been I whittled it down to about 20 films, and then from that 15, and if I could put 15 I would, but it's been very difficult. It's because it's such a big area. Like we agreed, didn't we, beforehand, that any film that has a kind of Western twang to it, we'd be happy to do. So it's really opened it up to us, and
Yeah.
lots of really good films.
Yeah, I think we kind of come up to the thing that just not traditional cowboy films.
Yeah.
There are modern westerns that, although I must admit, I haven't actually got any of those modern westerns. It was one of the ones that I took out actually before we pressed record and I met you. There's just so many great, and I've got a couple of contentious ones in regards to.
Oh, I've got a very contentious one.
that people will go, so you haven't chosen this movie,
Yeah.
but you've put this movie in your top 10. I've got a couple of those.
It was such a difficult because, like, Westerns has to be one of the films that they've been making the most of.
I think so, right from the
Start,
birth of
because
cinema.
there was a
Yeah.
period where they were just doing the big MGM musical numbers and Westerns, and then
Yeah.
it was just Westerns. So much stuff, so many actors and directors have come from Westerns. It's just so much to choose from.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rubbish Westerns, let's be honest, but There's some very, very good ones.
Yeah, and again, we said this before we started recording, but there are a lot of the classic westerns that I haven't even seen.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, one that nearly made my top 10 but didn't, which I only saw for the first time on Saturday, was, and again, this is going to be one of those contentious ones, was Calamity Jane, right, with Doris Day.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Classic.
I'd never seen it before, and we watched it Saturday night, myself and my wife, and I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've never, it was only because my wife sort of watching it and I came in and watched it with started 10 minutes on the clock of it. And I just sat there and I thought, what a great movie. And it was so close to being in my top 10.
Yeah.
But I'll say for now, I haven't got True Grit in my top 10. So I could imagine being completely lambasted if you've got Calamity Jane in there, but you haven't got.
Wait a minute, let me just.
It's just one of those things. But there's so many great, when you start really, pulling the stone back and you look underneath and you see how many great cowboy and western movies there are. It's frightening. It's almost impossible.
Well, when we first agreed on the idea, I was like, this would be quite easy, I think. In my mind, I was like, yeah, I've got a top 10 in my head. And then the more I got into it, I was like, oh, good God, what have I done?
Exactly. Yeah, I had exactly the same feeling. Okay, so before we actually get to our top 10, let's do this.
Lisa's Challenge.
What the fuck are you saying?
The lovely Lisa.
Lovely Lisa, indeed. So, how many do you think we're going to have as duplicates in this top 10?
Well, initially I was going to say quite a lot, but I think that it's probably going to be like 2, 3. I'm going to say 3.
You're going to go 3?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go 4. I think.
Okay.
I think
like that, is it?
Yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah, it is like that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Fine.
No, I'm going to go 4. I think the thing is, I think you're going to be right. I can see 3 on my list that I think we're definitely both going to have.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at maybe one other that might.
There's some that just jump out, isn't there?
I think so. I mean,
there's a couple that I haven't done because I haven't seen them, and I couldn't put them in without
exactly the
seeing
same.
them,
Yeah.
So
exactly the same. Okay, Matt, kick us off with your number 10.
I'm going to go. Number 10 is the 1988 classic Young Guns.
This was one of the ones that has literally just come out of my top 10.
Is it really?
It is, absolutely. Okay, so why the Young Guns?
I mean, I was 7 when this came out. I remember seeing this on VHS when this came out, and I was brought up watching westerns with my mum, like the John Waynes and all that, Burt Lancaster, all those classic films. And to me, this was like, oh, this is a western for me, And it was just so. It's not a good film, but it's not a good film. It's not a good film. I rewatched it about 6 months ago. Yeah, it's not good, but it's just iconic for me. And bit of John Bon Jovi's all right, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's it's a good action western film for me.
Yeah, this was the one that had like a lot of the Brat Pack in it, wasn't it?
That's exactly it. Yeah,
it was Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez,
yeah, Keith Sutherland
was in it.
Lou Diamond Phillips.
Diamond Phillips. That's right.
Yeah. It's got
Richie.
It's got a good cast in it, but yeah, like you say, Rat Pack crew.
Yeah. Jack Palance was the baddie.
Jack Palance,
Jack Palance, because he was kind of going through a with City Slickers. He had a bit of a kind of like a swan song to his long career, but
a resurgence, as it were.
Resurgence. Yeah. I because now Emilio Estevez actually played Billy the Kid, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think the second in Young Guns 2, it was more of the story of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. This was just a kind of a generic, almost like a Magnificent Seven kind of thing. All these.
It kind of was, yeah. It's like we've got an idea of doing a Billy the Kid film. We've got this Emilio Estevez. We've got Martin Sheen's son.
The
Regulators. Mount up.
That's right.
Which was used in Warren G track.
That's right. Absolutely. But it's a great movie. But I think it's definitely. I can't remember the last time I watched it, but it feels like it was an 80s film.
Oh, very much so.
I don't know whether it's. When was the last time you watched it?
Like I say, about 6 months ago.
Right.
It was randomly on, and I caught a bit of it. I didn't watch it all, but it brings me back to that time, and it's not good. But it's.
I was going to say, so it hasn't aged well, then? Do you think?
Not really.
No?
Not really. Not particularly. No.
That's fair enough. But again, I mean, I think it's God, I can't even think the last time I saw that film. But Keith Sutherland, I always remember, looked pretty cool in it because he had like the
Oh, he
longish
was,
hair,
yeah,
didn't he?
and I think he was off the back of. He must have been off the back of. Uh, oh, what's the vampire? My mind's gone completely
Well,
blank.
there was Flatliners, there was
No, the vampire film.
oh, The Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. That's it. Good God. Yeah, Lost Boys. It must have been around that time. So he was hot stuff then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he
Yeah.
was very hot stuff. Yeah, yeah. But that's a good one to kick us off with, without a shadow of a doubt. Right, I'm going to go for something that's a bit old, and again, this is a movie that I can always remember hearing about, and one of those movies that, being a self-confessed kind of movie geek, I never saw till last year. It's from 1962, and it's The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Ah, nice.
Now, it's James Stewart. I love James Stewart.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just one
Jimmy
of those
Stewart.
actors that I could watch all the time. And I have to say, this is my only movie in my top 10 that's got John Wayne in it. And Lee Marvin. And it's got one of those quotes in it, which is like one of those very, very famous quotes, which I've now forgotten, and I can't remember what it is.
It's so famous.
It is so famous. Oh, fuck. It's something about... Oh, God, it's like print the lie or... Oh, bollocks. I apologise, everybody listening, and now going to be completely pissed off with me because I cannot remember what that... But it's a great movie. If you, I don't really want to say too much about it because there's a lot that goes on in it. Jimmy Stewart is just great in it, and John Wayne is John Wayne, like he is in all of his cowboy movies. And Lee Marvin just plays this absolute brute of a horrible guy. But I watched it, and it was one of those movies that, like I said, I'd heard so many things about it. I'd never watched it before, and I just spent it was just 2 hours of just like joy watching this film that I'd heard so much about, and then watching it for the first time. So if you get a chance to see it, I would thoroughly recommend.
That was on one of the kind of top 20 odd lists that you look at, and I must admit I've not seen it, but it looks like it would be a good one. Yeah, definitely. I'll go on my list. I've
got to try and find out what that quote is.
I just
now.
love that the pretext for that was you like it's a very famous saying, and you just can't remember it.
Here you go. I found it.
Right,
one guy says, "You're not going to use that story, Mr. Scott," and Maxwell Scott says, "No, sir. This is the West, sir. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend."
Ah,
there you go.
Nice.
So you don't need to email in anybody now.
No.
Thank you very much.
Strongly worded matters.
Yeah. But thank you. So there you go. That's mine at number 10. So number 9 then, please, Matt.
So number 9 for me is The Magnificent Seven.
Okay. Now, which one? I'm assuming it's going to be the original.
It's the 1961. Yeah. I mean, like the remake wasn't that. I mean, that was a film. It's a film.
It's got Denzel Washington in it, which for me, he's my greatest.
I do love Denzel Washington, and he's not. And if any film he's in is amazing, but it's the original one, so it's a classic, isn't it? You've got such a cast: Steve McQueen, Yul Brynner, Charles Bronson, James Coburn. I remember watching this as a kid with my mum, and just the story of it. A gunslinger is hired by some Mexican villagers to help them from the bandit. It's just a brilliant film. Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
This was a remake of The Seven Samurai, wasn't it?
It was Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Yeah, which is, again, if you've ever seen that, that's actually a really good film.
Yeah.
It's shot beautifully. But yeah, it's a classic film. Absolutely love it. And that story, that idea of, getting some experienced ragtag band of people to come and help you, so many times being used in films. Three Amigos. I mean, essentially,
Exactly. So. I mean, the thing is, the one thing about, the majority of westerns is that they're revenge movies.
Yeah, exactly.
The majority of them are, isn't it? Somebody gets something bad done to them, and then they end up they want to pay back the baddies, and it's a trope that is used, obviously not just in westerns, but majority of westerns, that's kind of it's payback time. Something has to be done, and they get either somebody else to do it, or they go off and just have to kill everybody. And I love those kind of movies. I love the revenge of it, because it's the kind of stuff where they're doing the stuff that you would love to do in real life that you can't,
exactly.
you wouldn't get away
Exactly.
with.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, so you have to do it. But and also, I don't know about you, but I love the Western style of dress.
Yul Brynner in that film is
It is,
how cool. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? How
everything,
cool do you look?
everything. Whether it's the cowboy belt, the
Yeah.
hat, whether it's a waistcoat, the boots, the spurs. I just love that whole look.
I know. If I could pull that off successfully, I would do it a lot.
Oh,
I mean,
wouldn't it be great?
it
It
was
would just.
so cool.
I would.
Man.
I would literally, if I look good in that, I'd walk around in Western gear like all day. I just would. I'd go to work in it.
Get away with it. Yeah, exactly.
With
I mean,
boots. I mean, I just can't. You know, even what was the name of that show? Can you remember Bonanza?
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
The guys there, or the Lone Ranger. What the
Yeah.
Lone Ranger, that light
Yeah, yeah.
blue suit
With the tassels.
with the tassels and that.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks ridiculous, but I just think there's something that looks very, very cool about that whole style. I don't know whether it's
Because
just
I was
me.
really close to putting Westworld in as well in
Right.
my list, and like Yul Brynner in that, it's just it's iconic, isn't it?
Yes.
In that kind of like black getup, black hat, brilliant, absolutely
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, my number 9, I'm going for 1995, and it's a Sam Raimi movie, and it's The Quick and the Dead.
Oh, do you know what? I took that out of my top 10. That
Did
is
you?
a film. I love that film.
Because Sharon Stone,
Yeah.
Gene Hackman, who again is
Gene
one of my
Hackman.
favorite actors.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe, and I think this was the first movie I ever saw Russell Crowe in.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it would
He
have been,
doesn't.
wouldn't
He
it?
doesn't say much in the movie. He's
No,
very
no.
very quiet. A very young Leonardo DiCaprio.
Very young.
And I can always remember around the time I saw an interview with Sam Raimi talking about the movie, and he had to keep stipulating that there was no special effects for when Gene Hackman was drawing his gun, because people were saying that he can't draw it that fast. It must be like some kind of special effects. And he's I honestly, that is how fast he can draw a gun. It was like, it was crazy. And I mean, I know that I always get this one, the Gene Hackman character, mixed up in this one than he was in for Unforgiven. Because again, two kind of like bad guys or whatever. But it's the way that Sam Raimi, the way his directing is slightly different to other people, and the way that he frames things are slightly different, and
Very comic booky, isn't it? The way he does
very
stuff.
comic booky, and it's the Dutch angles, and it's the quick zooms in and, and zooms out. It's very like Evil Dead, all the stuff. It's his style.
Yeah.
But Sharon Stone, I'm not a massive fan of Sharon Stone, but she's fantastic in this.
It's one of her better films, to be fair. I think. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And again, if it's not what, it's one that goes under the radar, I think, a lot.
Yeah, it is. I think when it came out, it was really underrated. I think massively underrated. But I watched that not so long ago, about within the last year. I watched it start to end, and it's like, oh, I really like this film.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's relentless. It doesn't really give up.
It really is. Yeah.
And got some great, like I say, great visuals on there. And just a really, 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 really good cast. I was just trying to think. Tobin Bell's also in it. I forgot Tobin Bell.
Lance Hendrickson's in it.
Lance Hendrickson, Keith David, Pat Hingle, Gary Sinise. I forgot that Gary Sinise was in it.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, such a good movie. Okay then, your number 8, please, Matt.
Okay, so this is my kind of left field one, and it is Serenity.
Oh, right. Okay.
Now, there would be a very big argument that it isn't a Western, but I say, no way. I'm a brown coat through and through.
Yeah.
It's a
space Western.
It's a space Western.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm such a huge Firefly fan. I absolutely love that series. And the film, when this came out, I just devoured the series. And this came out, and I was like, no one ever thought it would happen. And this is just a film made for fans. It didn't do very well at the box office.
No, it didn't. No.
It's just a cult film, but it carries on the story that I just absolutely loved. And yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
Because what
Absolutely
was it? Was it 2 seasons of Firefly or just
no,
one?
one. Just
one
season. Yeah. It was one season, 12 episodes or something, I think.
Right.
You know, the Nathan Fillion curse of him being in something and then it getting cancelled straight away. But it's got a great cast. Adam Baldwin, Summer Glau,
Alan
Tudyk, who I just think I'm obsessed with that man. I love everything he does. He's amazing. And it's a really cool idea, done really well. I mean, it's just Joss Whedon, who's a bad man now, but at the time he was quite good. And yeah, it's great. I love it.
I was thinking, is there anybody that was like so much at the top of their game as Joss Whedon.
And then it all.
If you look at Avengers: Age of Ultron, he had basically the Marvel or Avengers world in his in the and it just all collapsed.
He arguably kicked off the whole comic book kind of insanity that happened. Like it was bubbling along nicely, and then Avengers happened, and everyone was like, "Oh wow, this is actually this is how you do it."
Absolutely.
And then, like you say, and then it just went off the cliff. But
but I've watched it because my wife was a massive, like you, was a massive Firefly fan, and then we saw the movie, but I was never really, it never grabbed me as much as yourself.
I can imagine it's a bit of a Marmite kind of show or film. You either really obsessed with it or you're just kind of like, yeah, it's all right.
But like yourself, the fan base of that are rabid,
crazy.
aren't they? Yeah,
absolutely rabid. Yeah. But it's a lovely film. I absolutely enjoy it. Massively.
Good. That's a great one. I should. There are a few like TV series like that I should watch. I don't know about you. Can you separate the person from the art when it comes to someone like Joss Whedon? Or
I can. 9 times out of 10 I can.
Especially I suppose if you've got a real passion for the thing.
I think I can happily watch Firefly without thinking about that side of things. I think so.
That's fair enough. Okay, that's your number 8. My number 8, you have to have a spaghetti western in there. So, and you have to have Clint Eastwood in there. So I'm going to go for the 1966, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Now, it could have easily have been A Fistful of Dollars. It could have easily have been for a few dollars more.
Yep.
But I'm gone for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly just because I think it's got the most Western tropes in that one.
It's iconic, that one.
The three-way like battle at the end, if you like, with Lee Van Cleef and Eli Wallach, and it's the close-up of the eyes and the way that it just keeps cutting to each person, and it almost becomes like a pastiche of it because it happens so much. But it is, and the music is just
I have got
amazing.
I'm such a fan of Ennio Morricone. He is like one of my favorite composers of film scores, and like it's iconic. Everything they've done in that, like you said, it's almost a parody of itself sometimes, isn't it? Like it but it's just so perfectly done of that time of that film. Love it. Absolutely spot on, mate.
And again, is there anybody cooler than Clint Eastwood as the man with no name? I don't think there is.
No, I can't think of anyone.
He's absolutely made for that, And
he's too cool for a name. That's how cool he is. That's how cool he is.
Exactly.
You can't name him.
No. But like I said, I mean, he obviously was. I suppose him and John Wayne were the poster boys for the Western.
Yeah, totally.
And any of those movies in that the spaghetti Western, the trilogy, could have been in there, but I've only chosen one of them, and The Good and Bad, the Ugly.
I think legally you have to have one of those three in the top 10. Don't you?
You have to. Okay, your number 7 then, please.
So my number 7 is the 2018 The Sisters Brothers.
Ooh, now that's
John C. Reilly, Joaquin Phoenix,
yes,
Jake Gyllenhaal, Riz Ahmed, and Rutger Hauer.
Wow.
Okay,
I've never seen it.
I would highly recommend this film to people. It's a really well written. It's based on a book. It's very, very well written. Kind of a dark comedy-esque Western, but the characters in it, you really just fall in love with them. You've got the two sisters brothers. One is just an alcoholic who can't stay on his horse, and the other one is kind of like fed up of being a gunslinger and a kind of henchman for Rutger Hauer's character. But it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and it's just got a really nice ending to it. I won't spoil anything or say anything, but it's just a really nice film. Really enjoyed it. So I'd highly recommend that.
I was just looking to see. Oh, Creed Bratton from The Office is in it. I didn't realize he'd been in anything else apart from The Office. To be fair,
I mean, I don't even know who that is because I have not seen it.
Have you not seen The Office?
No, I haven't seen it.
The American Office. I
get told off a lot about that.
Okay, so is it a comedy? Did you say?
No, it's I say it's like a kind of dark comedy. It's quite serious, but it does have some moments in it that are, quite funny and that. But it overall it is quite a, yeah, kind of like a thriller-esque. These two gunslingers, sisters, brothers, have to are assigned to go and kill someone essentially, and it's like what happens within that story. But it's really well done. It's shot lovely. It's really shot so nicely. Like the framing and editing on it is just beautiful. It's a really, really good film.
Yeah, I need to look out for that one. I'm pretty sure it's on. I think it's on Netflix or somewhere like that because I have seen
Yeah,
it.
I think so. Yeah, it's one of those ones that you see, and then not many people think it's worth watching, but it's really, really good. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah. Okay. Another one to add to the list.
There we go. Yeah.
Lordy, lordy. Okay. My number 7. I'm going for my second Clint Eastwood movie. Some would probably say that this should be higher, but there you go. I'm going for Unforgiven from 1992. Again, got Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, Richard Harris. He was great in it. It's for me, what I've always thought of this is that it's the man with no name as an older man.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of like a follow on from that. He plays, is it William Money? I think is the guy. Yeah, Bill Money, who's obviously done stuff in his past.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last half an hour or so is just him exacting that revenge and becoming the person that he wanted to stop being, because he was a killer.
So this is one of the westerns that I've not seen, and
Really?
Yeah. So this is like top 10 in pretty much everyone's list, and I haven't seen it. I was trying to watch it, couldn't watch it, so I couldn't put it in without seeing it.
Right.
But I've only heard good things about it, and this is definitely going on my list of things.
I would, yeah,
100%.
I would kind of think that if once you watched it, it would go into your top 10.
Yeah, I'd be like, right,
Because
young guns can fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. But it's epic in everything that it has. But it's got Clint Eastwood being almost like that man with no name, but he's a guy that has got a family, and he has to become the man that he was, as opposed to the man that he is now, and he has to go back to some like real dark places. But again, Gene Hackman is just so good in it. He's just a real bastard in it, as well.
He plays that kind of villainous character really well, doesn't he?
He does. And it's, I mean, you can see why it won the Oscars, but it's thoroughly recommend it. Okay, then, your number 6 then, please.
My number 6 is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, well, there you go. See? There's one.
There's one. I mean, we've got to 6, and there being one. I thought there might have been one before then, to be honest. But
I thought it might have been. Okay. Have you got any more to say about that? Or
I mean, not really. We kind of covered it all. It is what it is. It's a great film. It's it's of its time. I mean, we've covered it all really.
Yeah. Okay. My number 6. Now, not all westerns have to be broody and violent. I'm going for Maverick with Mel Gibson.
That was in my top 10, and then I took it out.
Yeah,
love that film.
It is.
It's a great film.
I mean, again, separating the person from the art.
Yeah,
Mel Gibson gets a lot of shit for certain things that he's said and done.
Yeah.
I always think that he is one of those. He is a true movie star. And he always looks cool and he always, now he looks obviously a little bit rough, but it's kind of one of those. He's got like a weathered face now, and he's still, in my mind, he always looks cool. He's a great director as well. But this movie is just fun.
It is, isn't it?
It is just.
It's a great fun film.
It's a great film. Jodie Foster is really good. Alfred Molina, and then it's oh God, what's the guy's name that played?
I've drawn a blank as well.
Holy crap! I shouldn't, because he was like.
He was the original Maverick, wasn't he?
He was the original Maverick, yeah, and I can't believe that I've forgotten his bloody name, because he was like a James Garner.
James Garner.
That's it. It's so much fun, this movie, and Mel Gibson is a perfect.
Yeah.
The scene where they're around he's a gambler and he's a cheat and he's a liar, but when he's playing poker and there's a gunslinger the other side of that he keeps losing, that he keeps winning against, just his acting in that, and he's just, like I say, he's just cool. He's funny. It's a really, really good movie, and it's just a good romp, if you like.
Yeah. And the bit where he pretends, is it the Russian hunter, and he pretends to be an Indian?
That's right.
It's a dumb film, but it's like you say, it's a fun, really, really fun film. But yeah, that was in and out of my top 10 all week. Yeah,
And I think Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster had a really good chemistry together as well.
Yeah, they've done a couple of films together as well. Didn't they do? They did a film together that she directed.
Oh, wasn't it about the beaver?
Yeah, the beaver. Yeah,
yes, yes. I never saw that. Didn't he have? He had a toy beaver that he would play with.
I think this was like at the back end of when he went a bit crazy. And yeah. I've never seen it, but I mean,
I think it was called The Beaver.
It was
called The Beaver.
And all I've got running around in my head is Jodie Foster's beaver. But I can't. I'm not. No.
Nice beaver, as they say.
Beaver.
But yes, I would, again, another movie I would thoroughly recommend, because it is it's just good fun. And the other thing is, because it was directed, I'm pretty sure it was directed by Richard Donner. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So obviously the Lethal Weapon link
Crossover,
there.
Yeah. Oh, and Danny Glover was in it.
Danny Glover was in it.
He wasn't. He had a
another
cameo.
lovely little moment.
Yeah, I love that.
He's got a mask on and he's robbing a bank, and it even has the little. And they look at each other and kind of like shake their head and look at each other again. But there's a lot of the bit part players are all people that you recognise, like the chief from Lethal Weapon is there.
Yeah.
And if I can find it, I'll put it on the video playlist for our top heads. There's a bit in it which I remember watching over and over again. Like the climax of the movie is on a paddle steamer, and they're having this poker tournament. And I think it's coming to the end of it, and Mel Gibson is playing cards, and his old chief of Lethal Weapon is the dealer. And something, I can't remember what happens, that they must finish the hand, and he goes to move out of his chair, and his ass is so fat that the chair sticks to his ass. And they must have slightly cut it, because that shouldn't have obviously happened.
Yeah.
And you can see Mel Gibson almost like lose it. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I kept rewinding it, thinking they shouldn't have kept that in there. I'll see if I can find the scene and put it on.
I love that they leave stuff like that in there.
It was just so funny.
Yeah.
Because you could see him trying to get up out of a chair that had like armrests, and as he got up, it stuck to his ass, and he couldn't get out of the chair. So I'll have to try and find that and put that in the video playlist. Okay, right, we're halfway through, so it's time for this.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Are you ready for a bit of a quiz, Matt?
Let's go.
Okay. As I've done with a few movies before, I'm going to give you the tagline for the poster of a famous Western.
Yep.
You need to tell me what movie it is.
Okay.
Here we go. Number one. Oh, let me make sure I've got my bell. There you go. Number one. And hell followed with him.
Unforgiven?
It's not. You got the right actor. It was Pale Rider.
Oh, okay. Right.
There you go. Number two. The story of a man who was too proud to run.
Oh, man. I don't know. Shane? No, I'm going to get naught for naught out of
It's
this.
High Noon. Number three. No one comes up here without a damn good reason.
Oh, I don't know. No idea.
Should I have a guess?
The Magnificent Seven.
You're actually one less than the answer. It was The Hateful Eight.
Right. Just to stop you here, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for The Hateful Eight with the poster. It's there on my other monitor.
And I mean, that we can't, before we get emails, that is not cheating, because he got it wrong, and B, he didn't know I was going to say that anyway.
Yeah.
Number four, Blood Lost, Life Found.
Tombstone.
Oh, it was The Revenant.
Oh, of course.
Number five, in his own way, he is perhaps the most dangerous man who ever lived.
Fistful of Dollars.
Well done.
Yes.
He's broke his duck. Well done. It was A Fistful of Dollars. Number 6, you can't ignore her. You can't beat her. You can't resist her. You can't win.
God. Calamity Jane.
No, it was The Quick and the Dead.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, yeah.
Number 7, Together for the First Time.
Magnificent Seven.
If you keep saying it, you might get that right.
So what, it's got to be one of them, hasn't it?
It was The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, because they were talking about James
okay.
Stewart and John Wayne together for the first time. Number 8, Revenge is a Journey into Hell.
Unforgiven. God damn it.
It was Bone Tomahawk.
Oh. Not seen that.
No, have you not?
No.
Fuck me, that
Is it
mate. Oh my god. You'll have nightmares after that movie. It is literally going into hell. It is crazy.
Oh, it's going on my list.
Anyway, number 9, Justice Has a Number.
Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
A broken clock's twice.
Exactly.
Right, twice.
Exactly. And finally, Never Give a Saga an Even Break.
Blazing Saddles.
Well
Is it?
done. It was.
Hey!
There you go. A respectable 3. 30%.
I'll take that. I mean, at one point I thought I was not going to get any of them by just constantly saying Magnificent Seven.
But you got that right sooner or later,
Well,
like
there
you
go,
say.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, there were
Thank
some
you, mate.
tough ones in there, I must admit. But you did well. Well done. Okay. Back to the job in hand.
Yep.
Your number 5 then, please, Matt.
It's The Hateful Eight.
Is it? That's my number 3. That's my number 3.
Love that film. It was at one point it was at number 1, then it was at number 2, then it went down and up and down the list because I think it's his best film. Personally, I think it's his best film. It's not everybody's will have say Django or Pulp Fiction. I just really love it. The way that it's shot, preliminary, can't even speak, in the lodge. It's just, and then the score, it's got your man Ennio Morricone again. I just love it. I really, really love it. Kurt Russell's brilliant in it. Absolutely amazing in it. I mean, the whole cast is brilliant in it. It's great. It's such a good film. Such a good film.
I mean, I can't remember whether I put this at number 1. Well, we haven't done Tarantino movies, but like as in like moment. We did Tarantino moments, and it featured heavily in there. And I've said before, I love it because it's unapologetically slow.
Yes.
You know, it lingers on shots and it lingers on moments.
Yeah.
And he's my favorite director, Tarantino.
Yeah, he's a great director.
I don't think he's made a bad movie. I really don't. And this one is one that it could easily be a play because it is just set in one place, basically.
Exactly.
But it's so gruesome.
Yeah.
It's so, but there's just so many good bits in it. It's such a great movie.
But it's a really cool twist on a Western. It's like a whodunit.
Yeah.
Western. And like you're constantly changing your mind with what's going on. You don't really know what's going on. You don't know who is the good guys, the bad guys. And I one of the things I love about it as well is the opening scene of just Kurt Russell in the carriage going through the snow. And it goes on for what seems like ages, but it's just so beautiful. It's just so well shot. And it's such a great film. Such a great film.
And again, he gets a lot of stick for being, well, they say that because he doesn't treat his women characters very well. And Kurt Russell's doing nothing but smacking the shit out of like his female prisoner.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But she's a killer, or she's somebody that. But it is just one of the greatest bits of cinema I think I've ever seen, and the fact that it's like 2 hours 45 minutes or something.
I think I was just looking on the Wikipedia. The extended version is 210 minutes long.
There you go. See.
So that's 3. Oh, there we go. Maths.
Yeah, so that's 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's 3.5 hours that doesn't seem like 3.5 hours.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Well worth a watch if you've not seen it. Yeah,
completely agree. So that's your number 5. That's my number 3. So my number 5, I'm going with Dances with Wolves from 1990. Again, anybody that's heard this podcast knows I'm a massive Kevin Costner fan. I can remember going to see this in the cinema. it's got some really uncomfortable moments in it, but
It does, yeah.
It's Kevin Costner being a true hero, like a Civil War hero to start with. It's epic is the word. I always whenever I think of this, I always think of this and Braveheart as almost like it could be a double feature. It'd be a long double feature.
Bloody long feature. Yeah.
To me, it's like they're sort of cut from the same cloth. Both actor directors, that passion projects, if you like. But Costner, I think, he's Silverado was nearly in my top 10, which I don't know if you've ever seen.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. No.
It's a Lawrence Kasdan, very much in the style of like Young Guns, where it's got loads of different characters all coming together, and he's very sort of young, dumb, and full of cum in that movie. Whereas this one, he is the sort of true hero of the piece. But it's a great
film.
Yeah, swirling, epic, showing you the beauty of the Wild West, but also the brutality of it as well. So
I remember when this came out, for me, again, I was quite young when it came out, but it was, like you said, an epic. It was such a long film, but it was just perfect. It was just, really, really good. That's a good shout. Very good.
Okay. So your number 4 then, please.
So my number 4 again is one that has been going up and down the top 10. It's and I almost feel bad for saying it's here. It's Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
Now I am a massive fan of Mel Brooks. I absolutely love all of his films. I was brought up watching Robin Hood Men in Tights, Spaceballs, Young Frankenstein. This is an amazing film. Now I haven't seen it for a while, but I absolutely love this film. I watched the opening of it this morning. I was like, how much of this can I actually say? None. None of it. I can't say any of it. But it's such, it just takes the piss out of everything. It's a, Western black comedy. It's so funny. The things that they get away with. It's got such a good cast. Gene Wilder in it was amazing. Slim Pickens is just a Western within himself, It's just a great film, really, really good, and it's got so many quotable scenes that like we talked about previously. The farting around the campfire with the beans. It is just that, to me, being a little kid watching that, was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, and I still find it funny. Yeah,
we've said before, who doesn't find farting funny?
There's not something wrong with you. Come on.
Yeah,
that's my number 4, and great film, absolutely.
Yeah, I actually watched it, I think, was it Sunday I watched it for the first time in a while, and I haven't enjoyed watching a movie for a long, long time. Yeah. And I know that it's wrong. I know they use the N-word so much.
Oh, yeah.
But the whole point of the movie is to show the ridiculousness of racism.
Exactly. It is.
It's they're not saying it just to say the words. They're saying it because they're showing just how ridiculous the whole thing is. I'm the same as you. I'm a massive Mel Brooks fan.
Love him.
I was never really a massive fan of Spaceballs, and I don't know whether that's because he was taking the piss out of my favourite movie, which is Star Wars. So I'm kind of a bit. I was a bit sort of like, no, well, that's not funny, because he's
get a bit defensive about it, don't you? Yeah,
possibly. But he is a genius. He is Young Frankenstein, and Gene Wilder is an absolute genius. Yeah. Yeah. It was always interesting to me that it's Cleavon Little, I think, is the guy that
Cleavon Little is Bart,
but it was supposed to be Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was the guy that was supposed to be playing that, and he sort of helped write the movie.
Yeah, I was going to say he was one of the screenwriters, wasn't he?
Yeah. But so many good bits. I mean, Mel Brooks is hilarious as the governor.
I know. It's just
and the trouble is like, we could say, my favourite joke in the movie is, but you can't, because you can end up saying an inappropriate word.
Yeah, but I don't want to be cancelled.
Exactly. But if you park that at the door, and I don't, sometimes it sounds like an excuse when you say, well, it's of its time. But the whole point of the movie is the ridiculousness of racism.
Well, it's that. But the thing is, do you remember when Django came out?
Yeah.
And Spike Lee complained about the amount of times the N-word was used, but it's accurate of the film at the time. It was a film about essentially slavery, and that's what would have happened. And that's not, defending what happened in any way, but it is, it's a very difficult tightrope, isn't it?
It is it's a tightrope. It's a knife edge. It's all of those kind of different ways you want to explain it. But I think I think when it's a comedy, you look at it in the context of the comedy. Nobody's saying that word to have a go at anybody of now, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's to me, it's just a classic.
It is. Yeah. 100%.
I may bring it up a little bit later on, but we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see,
Okay then. So my number 4. Now this is the one that I feel that people who love westerns might go, hang on a minute. Like I say, you haven't got The Magnificent Seven in your top 10. You haven't got True Grit. You haven't got Once Upon a Time in the West in your top 10. But I've got Carry On Cowboy. Okay.
I wasn't expecting that. I must admit.
Now, as I've said many times, I listen to a Carry On film every night when I go to bed. That's the way I go to sleep.
Yeah.
I have them on. I have about 15, 20 of the movies on rotation, so I listen to a different one every night. And I've always said about Carry On movies, their production value, especially the period piece ones, were amazing.
Yeah.
You watch Carry On Cowboy, and you would not know that it was made for probably for £200,000 or something in 1965. It would have been a very, very cheap movie, but you would not know that because it looks like they're filming on the plains of Wyoming, where it is probably Buckinghamshire countryside or just outside the Pinewood Studios or something.
I was gonna say
all the costumes and the sets just look like it's straight out of a John Wayne movie, and it's funny, and Sid James plays like one of the he's just charming. But
what's the name of his character in that? Is something
he is the Rumpo Kid.
That's it, the
Rumpo Kid. Yeah. And then Jim Dale plays, they're looking for a marshal to come and clean up the town, and his name is Marshal P. Nut. So they think he's a marshal, but he's a drainage and sanitary engineer. So they go and get him, but then you've got, Joan Sims, who was always, I felt, like one of the greatest members of the Carry On team, who plays like a Mae West kind of, the owner of the bar, and busty, and I was going to say full of spunk, but that could be easily misconstrued. It wasn't quite that kind of movie.
Well, look, we don't know. We're not.
No.
What happens at Pinewood Studios in the 60s?
Exactly. But again, I mean, if you want to get to your PC and your woke versions, you've got people that are dressing up as Indians that aren't Indians. But again, it's a comedy and it's the 60s. But I always park, whenever anything to do with Carry On, I always park that because it's just absurd
You've
comedy.
got to, haven't you? It's the absurdness of it. For me, I remember vividly watching Carry On Up the Khyber with my granddad, and like he'd say stuff, But it's just, you're exactly right. It's just stupid, dumb comedy that us Brits seem to do really well.
Yeah. So I just had. I mean, yes. Does it need to be that high in my top 10? Mm-hmm. Maybe not, but I think it's one of the best Carry On movies. So
yeah, good shout.
Had to put it in there.
Very good shout.
Okay then, Matt, your number 3, please.
My number 3 is the remake of 3:10 to Yuma.
Oh right, okay, that's another Russell Crowe movie, isn't it? I think
it's another Russell Crowe movie, and it's another Alan Tudyk movie.
That's right. Yeah,
I wouldn't have expected to have an Australian and somebody who's not really famous for doing westerns in two of them, but. Yeah, I remember watching this when it came out, and I just fell in love with it. I don't know why I fell in love with it. I couldn't tell you why it's my top 3, other than the fact that I just really, really enjoyed the story. I got really related to the characters, and have you seen it?
I have. I've only ever seen it once.
It's a great little film. It's really you just come out of it satisfied. Well, I did. I really enjoyed it. I just think it's spot on as a kind of the classic, we've got to get prisoner from A to B, who's going to do it? This dude and his son. It's really warm the way Russell Crowe kind of turns on his gang, essentially. Spoilers, but yeah, it's a great film. I really, really enjoy it, and I need to watch it again soon, I think.
Christian Bale as well.
Christian Bale,
yeah.
And who else have we got in it? Oh, I'm
Peter
trying to
Peter
remember
Fonda. Peter Fonda's in there. Logan
Peter
Lerman.
Fonda, Luke Wilson,
Ben Foster.
Yeah, great film. Very, really good.
Yeah,
Well worth a
I need
watch.
to watch that again because it's been a long, long time since I watched that. Who
It
directed that?
This was James Mangold. So
Oh my God!
your man who did Logan,
Who did Indiana Jones
Indiana Jones.
and
Oh,
yeah,
mm,
yeah.
yeah.
And he's also, I think he's got a Star Wars movie in his future apparently as well.
Oh,
So,
has he? Okay.
oh, let's see how that goes. But
Well, let's see.
yeah, I forgot that it was James Mangold that directed that. But yeah, it's a movie I wouldn't mind revisiting.
It's worth a watch. Like I say, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, we'll add that one to the list. Okay, my number 3 was The Hateful Eight. So back to you for your number 2, then, please, Matt.
My number 2 is Tombstone.
That's my number 2.
Hey!
That's my number 2.
Is that 3 now? Is it?
So that is, let me see, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is 1. Hateful Eight
Tombstone
is 2, and Tombstone is 3 so far. It'll depend what's number 1.
Right.
And
I'm not going to spoil it, but I've won.
but have you though?
I think
because you don't know what my number 1 is yet, do you?
Well, maybe. Maybe you might have said that you haven't put it in.
Let's wait and see, shall we?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a great film. It's a great film. It is. Yeah. It's such a weird, like, it's just a little snippet, isn't it, from that story, the whole kind of Wyatt Earp story, the back end of his life. But that film, Val Kilmer in that film, I mean, standing O.
So
please.
good.
It is so good. I mean, it's the second film. We've got Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott. He's looked the same for about 40 years. He sounded the same. I reckon he came out of the womb with a tash, a cowboy hat, and a gravelly voice. The man is just a legend.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and like Michael Biehn in that film was brilliant. It's just, it's so well casted. It's so well shot. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Love that film. Absolutely love it.
Because I think around the same time, Kevin Costner brought Wyatt Earp, the movie out.
Dennis Quaid, wasn't it? Was it the Dennis?
That's right.
No, sorry. Dennis Quaid was.
Dennis Quaid was Doc Holliday.
Hollywood. Doc Holliday.
Yeah, Doc Hollywood. That's a different kind of Western. And I always thought like the Wyatt Earp, the Kevin Costner version was the sweeping, long, epic kind of movie.
Yeah.
Whereas Tombstone was like the action adventure, revenge, and Kurt Russell for me is one of those guys that is great. The movie might be shit, but he is great in everything that he's in.
Yep.
And it's not just because I'm genuinely jealous of his like flowing, glorious, thick locks, or all right, okay, Matt, or like the amazing facial hair that he can grow. You know, his moustaches that he can grow.
I know,
is just beautiful.
It's amazing. Yeah,
and he's just so good in that movie. He is just, I mean, perfect.
The cast in that, you know, Bill Paxton, Stephen Lang. Charlton Heston's in it, isn't he? Billy Zane, Michael Rooker, like a young Michael Rooker. It's so weird, like cause when he was in Cliffhanger around the same-ish time as well, and you just see him like that, and it's a great film, great film. The thing is, that's the film that if it's on, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
you know, it's one of those.
You said about Stephen Lang as well. I mean, Stephen Lang is the guy that plays the baddie in Avatar.
Yes,
where he's all muscled up. And,
but in this,
he's a weedy, weedy, horrible little like snot rag of a guy. You know,
he's like a little yes man, isn't he? In the gang, and you don't realize it's him, but it's you've got it's the classic story, isn't it? You know, Tombstone. To shoot out the OK Corral, it's just brilliant, absolutely amazing, love it.
Yeah, and then going for revenge at the end, you know.
They do, though, don't they?
Hell's coming, and I'm coming with him, or something like that. That sounds bad as well. Okay, okay. Before we reveal our number 1s, then, if you want to give us your countdown from 10 to 2, I'll give my countdown from 10 to 2, and then we can reveal our number 1s. Okay,
so 10, I had Young Guns. 9, I had Magnificent 7. 8, I had Serenity. 7 was The Sisters Brothers. Where did I put that? Oh, wait a minute. Blazing Saddles was 6. The Hateful Eight was 5. And then I had 310 to Yuma as my... Wait a minute.
No, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Sorry. Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Then Blazing
Then Hateful
Hateful
Eight.
Eight, then Blazing, then Blazing Saddles. Number 3 was 310 to Yuma. Number 2 was Tombstone.
Lovely.
I'll get my coat.
Okay. Mine was number 10, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. 9, The Quick and the Dead. 8, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. 7, Unforgiven. 6 was Maverick. 5, Dances with Wolves. 4, Carry On Cowboy. 3, The Hateful Eight. And 2, Tombstone. So, Matt, what is your number 1 Western?
So my number 1, and this is, I don't know whether I can do this, it's the original and the remake of True Grit.
Okay.
Now,
I will let you have both. I mean,
thank you very much.
It's the same thing, basically.
When I was younger, my mum is a huge John Wayne fan. Like I said, the Duke, she just, anything with him on, she got that from her dad. I watched True Grit when I was like 3. And I remember the scene at the very end, it's just amazing. For me, that's your Western right there. That is just everything in a Western for me. And then the remake, I'm usually very kind of tentative with remakes. It's usually either going to be better than the original or a pile of dog shit. And I think that it's just as good as the original. It was the casting in both of them. It's a good film. It's a really, really good film. You forget Glenn Campbell is in the original.
That's right.
It's a weird kind of mix of everybody, but it's Robert Duvall, Dennis Hopper,
young Dennis Hopper.
It's such a good film. And for me, like, there'll be people saying, "Oh, this is better than blah blah blah," but for me, that's your Western right there.
Yeah, and Jeff Bridges was great. And again, he's another
he really was.
Like Kurt Russell, he's just one of those actors that it doesn't matter what shit he's in.
Exactly.
He's just good. He's always good in everything that he's in.
Josh, I would put Josh Brolin in that mix as well.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that he doesn't do like particularly. He's done a couple of bad films, but overall, if he's in a film, I'm engaged and I'm enjoying it. The Coen brothers were the perfect people in my book to take a really well-known, film and then just basically remake it, and it was spot on. It was really, really good. Loved it.
That's a great one.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, so at the moment we've got 3 the same. But my number 1 is Blazing Saddles. That makes it 4. So I won.
I was so cocky, wasn't I? Wasn't I so cocky, And you're sat there going, "Oh, have you now?"
You just no-bitched yourself.
Yeah, I did. Do you know what? I really did. Yeah. Oh.
But obviously we've already talked about Blazing Saddles. It is a great movie.
It's a great movie.
A movie of its time, maybe, but it is still really, really funny.
It really is. It really is.
Okay, we've got a couple of honourable mentions. At Zippy Arkle said Blazing Saddles. I saw it at the cinema on Sunday. It's wonderful. At MPG_1980 says has to be Blazing Saddles or Unforgiven. We have somebody called Fizz Lake.
Never heard of it.
No, I don't know who that is. But anyway, the Yul Brynner bit from Westworld, she said, so that's good. Maria Pereira, True Grit, the 2010 remake. 310 to Yuma, also the remake. And I know it's a comedy, but Blazing Motherfucking Saddles, one of my favourite movies of all time. Jeff Flores says Tombstone, Unforgiven, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Kim Mendes, Tombstone and True Grit. Dan the Man Harper said The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The Searchers, 310 to Yuma, Rio Bravo. Tombstone, The Searchers, The Revenant, No Country for Old Men. And number 1 is Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. There's too many. There was too many.
Too many indeed.
It was so difficult. Very, very difficult.
Well, there you go, Matt. We've done it.
We did it.
We did it. We've now sorted it out, and I won 4-3. But I'm not going to mention that again, okay?
No,
it's done.
No. And also don't mention the fact that I got really cocky thinking I won this before.
Well, I know now what I'm going to put as the little promo clip.
Oh, yep. No, that's fine. Yep, that's right.
But I won't mention it again. I will not mention again that I beat you 4-3 because that's just fine, it seems like I'm just rubbing your nose in it if I keep mentioning that I beat you 4-3. It just seems stupid.
It's really nice of you not to mention that. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Why should I? Why would I mention? Why would I mention that I beat you 4-3? To rapturous applause.
Oh, now he finds it.
I wouldn't. Yeah. Now I find it. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Okay, before we say our goodbyes, let me just remind everybody: you could be like Matt. you could come and join us for your own podcast episode. Come and subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/top10pods. Come and be a top of the tower Patreon subscriber, just like the wonderful, wonderful Matt is. And you can come and join us and come and get your little badge and all that kind of wonderful stuff. All the other stuff that you need to know about the podcast, links and all the other bits and shenanigans, just look on the show notes. It's all there just to click away. That's all you need to do. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It has, mate.
To
Absolutely
have you on. Please come back on again.
100%.
And we'll find another equally hard subject to work out.
Look, I need to show you this. I don't know whether you can see this. This is my top 10 list that has
Oh my
changed
God.
whilst we've been doing this.
You should frame that. You should absolutely frame that.
I'll put 4-3 on it.
I was
as
just
well.
about to say at the bottom, just put 4-3, and then
Yeah,
it's like a proper prize fight. We'll have a
It is.
rematch, and we'll see who can win after.
This
that.
is going to get competitive now.
It's going to get very
Yeah,
competitive,
I like
and
it.
now I know that you'll block me on Facebook, and you won't.
I'm going to come up to Jonathan and start booing you.
Yes, oh, by all means, just join the crowd. Everybody else does that.
Good man. Love it. Cheers, mate.
So, yeah, thank you very much, Matt.
Yeah,
thank you
really
very much,
appreciate it,
everybody,
buddy.
for watching and listening. Now, let's go start the countdown.